Good afternoon and welcome to our afternoon here at the Society of Genealogists, researching in East Yorkshire. Our first speaker today is Elsa Churchill, who's the genealogist at the Society of Genealogists. Over to you, Elsa.
Well, thank you very much, and welcome everybody to this collaboration between the Society of Genealogists, the East Riding Archives and Local Study Service, and the East Riding Family History Society. And we're all here today to learn about family history resources for the East Riding. And in this extended session, we'll also be learning how A Vision of Britain Through Time and the Historic Town Trust and the Victoria County Histories can help us research in this glorious part of glorious Yorkshire. So it's my delight to be able to talk about, in the first session, about the resources that we have at the Society of Genealogists. The Society is the oldest and largest genealogical members society in the United Kingdom, so we're effectively a national genealogical society, seeking to create a working genealogical research hub, concentrating on collecting resources in our library and archive in Wharf Road in central London. In fact, you're just seeing the outside of what is now our sixth building, having been founded in 1911. And I'm going to be concentrating on the resources that we collect for anyone researching their family history. So, of course, the Society of Genealogists will have things like textbooks, guides, journals, and periodicals. We very much focus on building the story of your ancestors' lives, about what they did in their lives, by collecting occupational records, information relating to education and apprenticeship, military service, tax records, criminal records, poor laws, newspapers, trade directories, ecclesiastical licenses, church court records, tombstones, etc., etc. We're particularly keen to preserve the research that's been done before. We encourage people to write up their family history and draw out family trees and pedigrees, either in sort of manuscript form and increasingly in digital. And of course, we collect genealogy research notes and papers and have increasingly become an archive of original source material. But of course, our particular focus, ever since we were founded and putting our library together, has been collecting resources for the places where our ancestors lived. That's in the UK and overseas, genealogy resources, including where the former colonies where people migrated to, including indexes, finding aids, copies and transcripts of vital records of birth, marriage and death, church registers, baptisms, marriages and burials, censuses, directory, etc. And of course, in addition to prints, micromedia and digital items, we're an archive of manuscript material and papers. And I'm going to try and squeeze all of that in with a Yorkshire slant and even more an East Yorkshire slant very quickly in the next 20 to 25 minutes or so. So I'm very happy to take any questions in the chat towards the end, but I will also give you a copy of these slides, which will be available with the recordings. If you need to go back and look at anything again, please feel free to do. So the research hub at Wharf Road comprises primarily of our library, where you'll find books, electronic and micromedia on and off the shelves. Having moved to our recent building, we have actually physically downsized the physical footprint of the shelves, which means a significant amount of material is either now off-site or has been digitized to view in digital form, which enabled us to stay in central London. And of course, that does mean an extra reliance on using the catalogues, which we call SOGCAT, to establish what we have in the library. And of course, as a family search affiliate library partner, the Family Search Catalogue lists things which can be viewed in our library too. There is increasingly our archive of manuscript documents, research papers and notes, and also what we call our special collections and pedigrees, all of which are off-site, not listed in great detail in our library catalogue. So old paper archive lists on our website are there have been scanned in anticipation of a new Collections Plus archive catalogue, which our archive team are working on, and we're very pleased with some of the results. We're getting to use that in-house, and hopefully that will be integrated onto our online provision. That is currently SOG Explore, where we have digital collections, some parish, some original records, indexes, database, and digitized books from the library, digitized for members to view from home. And because it's complicated, because there is a library, an archive, and an online provision, the website is probably the best place to go to look for our information and how you find things within it. So the web pages of the library will, of course, give you information on how to visit the library and how to access our collections. If you're coming into the library, it's probably sensible to book a place using the links on the visit page, which will open up a booking portal from the events area. Obviously, the library is owned and therefore free to use for our members. If you're not a member, there is a non-members daily fee to use the facilities here in the library. Once you have booked your place, you receive a link to the library booking form, and if you require materials from our collections, please fill out the details of the author title, shelf mark, accession number, and more importantly, the off-site storage box number, which we will order in and obtain from the store for you to come in and view. Again, items that you want to use through family search catalogue, for example, if you tell us, well, we can have those set up for you, and you can access those on our computer, or you can use your own computer to bring your own laptop. And again, the library page is linked to ways you can search our collections through the library catalogue, the digital online resources, and the archive finding aids for more in-depth sources. But if you want to sort of start a basic search, the website enables you to do that as well. And if you can't personally visit the Society's premises at Wharf Road, the library pages do have information about our limited search copy service and guidance on employing a professional researcher to help you, because that is not our task. Our task is to help you make the best out of the library and to search your family history yourself. But we don't do professional genealogy research for you at all. But with so much information not on the open shelves, it's vital to use the library catalogues to identify what you want. And so there are shortcuts via the search tabs on the website for searching our collections, which will lead you to the library collection, to the library catalogue, which will show yellow when you're using them, and you can enable you to perhaps start with a simple search, like putting in the name of a place that you're interested in, hit search, and see what comes up, because most genealogists know that sources are very much associated with the localities and places where our ancestors come from. So that's probably a good place to start. What have I got? And by places, we usually mean the parishes where our ancestors lived. So we tend to sort of be guided by the IHGS parish maps, as published in the Fillmore Atlas, as a guide to, where was the parish at the time your ancestors were living there. We tend largely to ignore the pre-1970, so the 1974 county boundary changes, and Yorkshire, being the largest English county, has a very significant presence in our library. By East Yorkshire, we tend to mean East Yorkshire or the East Riding and the Ainsty in the city of York, bounded by the North and West Ridings and Lincolnshire to the south, and of course major towns and boroughs within our area of interest for this afternoon include not only the rural parishes but the boroughs of Beverley and Kingston upon Hull, and of course the towns of Scarborough. So, but in our library, we tend to keep material for Yorkshire as a whole. We don't then subdivide it. So a typical county holding within our collection will include published material, transcripts and index of records, as well as surrogate copies of original records on microfiche and film. So things like general county-wide material for the whole county will include county histories, compiled pedigrees and published pedigrees. Maybe someone's published a transcription of the taxes for the half tax for the whole county, will indexes, finding aids, etc. will be sort of general county-wide items. Local specific place records, excluding parish registers and monumental inscriptions, will be things like parish histories, parish chest records, rate books, local quarter session, borough records, indexes for apprentices and freemen for the borough, etc. These will all have a shelf mark YKL, YK local. Those will be on the open shelves. And in fact, just identifying how many of those there are in the catalogue, there's over 2,643 local items. For church register copies and transcripts, indexes and finding aids, checking the catalogue for Yorkshire, there are over 2,670 items, and that includes records for the Church of England, christenings, marriages and burials, nonconformists and other denominations. Monumental inscriptions, i.e. MIs from churchyards and cemeteries, again with a shelf mark YK. There were actually 1,274 items, including the many published by the East Yorkshire Family History Society. I'm sure we'll hear about those. And certainly all bound parish register transcripts and monumental inscription transcripts, which were formerly on the open Yorkshire shelves, have actually now been scanned and are available as searchable PDFs to view in the library. So again, if you were used to our former building where we had literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bound registers and monumental inscriptions for Yorkshire, they're actually now all scanned, and you use a PDF version of those currently in the library, hopefully online at some point. Of course, the county would have census indexes, largely superseding what's online. Lots of directories, I think 230 Yorkshire directories in our collection, and 116 poll books, and a huge number of periodicals, family and local history societies. For example, if you search the SOG library catalogue by place, such as for Beverley, you'll see that we have 79 distinct items listed in the catalogue for this parish, which include local records and histories, parish chest records, borough records, constabulary maps, histories and guides, church registers, copies of original registers, transcripts and indexes for C of E parishes and various nonconformist chapels. And the catalogue will indicate if any of our register copies of transcripts include extra information, which is so common in Yorkshire, and what has become now known to be called Dade-style registers, such as here in the catalogue listing for the parish of Acombe, St Stephen, where it says certain elements are in what were known as Dade style. And the catalogue also for Beverley would note that place is also included in the Yorkshire marriage indexes, compiled and deposited at the Society of Genealogists by Brian Looms in his volumes of the Yorkshire Marriage Index. We also have copies of relevant Quaker Digest covering the area. And as you can see here, for entries for Burts and Pidsey, the catalogue tells you the format, whether it's microfiche or microfilm or CD, which were whizzy technologies at the beginning of the 21st century. If it doesn't expressly say those, then you assume it's a book, and it will also say whether the item is stored off-site in our store and therefore will need to be ordered in, or whether it is on the open county shelf at York Road. And as I say, any formally bound register transcripts and MIs, we would have to view as a PDF version of the book in the library. In addition to library access to the major genealogy websites such as Ancestry, Find My Past, The Genealogist and My Heritage at the SOG, the Society of Genealogists is a family search partner affiliate library. And so using the family search catalogue on its website will indicate what items have been scanned and digitised for East Yorkshire places by family search and which can be viewed at the Society. And also, interestingly, and something quite novel recently, Family Search Full Text is making previously unindexed or minimally indexed items more accessible within the catalogued items, viewable via Family Search at the SOG. And we're enjoying playing with that facility, which as it comes up on the Family Search catalogue at the SOG. And again, Family Search Wiki, where we always use as a sort of useful information about resources and links for any particular parish, particularly East Yorkshire places that you might be interested in, and giving links and items, and many of which can be viewed at the SOG. Our own Boyd's Marriage Index only includes 44 parishes, I'm afraid, so not hugely brilliant for East Yorkshire, but it is online through SOG Explore. Copies of Brian Looms' Yorkshire Marriage Index includes a large number of Yorkshire parishes and East Yorkshire parishes, and all are identified as being within the catalogue. We also have our own National Index of Parish Register Guides, NIPR guide, the volume relating to North Yorkshire and the East Riding and York, volume 11, is available for members to view on our SOG Explorer, and I'll come to SOG Explorer in a minute. In addition to parish registers and monumental inscriptions, we collect what we call the local items. These can be sources by place within the county, local histories, parish chest records other than registers, such as local transcripts of wills for Hull collected and transcribed by one of our members, Richard Holworthy, during his professional practice, or a published transcript of many local of sort of local manorial court records, for example. And as well as parishes and chapelries, of course, in Yorkshire, the wapentake will be a useful local search term to use in the catalogue, whereby you might find the name index to Bain's 1823 directory that includes Holderness wapentake, or a population study of South Holderness parishes, for example. In addition to the 8-volume Victoria County History of York and the East Riding, we hold some of the older antiquarian histories, such as Polson's 1841 History and Antiquities. This is the wonderful title, History and Antiquities of the Seigneury of Holderness in the East Riding of the County of York, including the abbeys of Mow and Swine and the priors of Nunkeeling and Birstall, compiled by authentic charters, records, and the unpublished manuscripts of the Reverend William Dade, remaining in the Library of Burton Constable, with numerous embellishments in 2 volumes. You can broaden out your search to cover the whole county, and I'm afraid this is Yorkshire rather than just East Yorkshire. And I do encourage you to try browsing the library catalogue using some of the subject headings for Yorkshire that might be of interest, whether that's ranging from abbeys in Yorkshire to World War II in Yorkshire. Some significant ones are sort of compiled family histories, for the covering Yorkshire families, a lot of history, published histories, and of course will indexes, and I think about 90 items relating to Yorkshire probate. Compilations of general county family histories can include, of course, the invaluable Joseph Foster's Pedigrees of the County Families of Yorkshire, Volume 4 and 5, covering the North and East Ridings, Walker's Yorkshire Pedigrees, published by the Harleian Society, and the useful bibliographies Stuart Raymond's Yorkshire Listing of Family Histories and Pedigrees, the Genealogist Library Guide, Series number 6, of course, we have that here. The published bibliography, George Marshall's The Genealogist Guide, indicates that there's a compiled pedigree and narrative genealogy relating to the Stricklands of Boynton in Foster's Yorkshire Pedigrees for the North and East Ridings, and indeed all the other titles that Marshall lists, including the pedigree information for the family of Stricklands, for example, in the Foster's Visitation of Yorkshire or Plantagenet Harrison's History of Yorkshire, can of course be found at the Society of Genealogists Library. You can, of course, search the library catalogue by surname for compiled single family histories deposited with us. We have over 9,000 compiled family histories, but bound on the form of family history shelves in our previous library. Again, these are all being scanned in partnership with Family Search, and hence we'll be using the scanned digital version of those for saving us a considerable amount of bookshelf space. And the records of the church courts governing wills before 1858 are, of course, largely at the Borthwick Institute, and many are indexed on Find My Past, which, of course, is accessible at the Society, and that and Find My Past provide links to order the documents from the Borthwick Institute for a fee. However, the SOG does hold all the published indexes to the various courts, and as a Family Search affiliate library, has access to not only the Family Search Library calendars and index digitized, but digitized images of the probate documents themselves available to view at the SOG. Also, of course, our archive collections have many copies and abstracts of wills within our family documents and special collections, and these are all indexed on sorry, a large proportion of these, I should say, they're not, that's an ongoing project. A large proportion of these are indexed on our SOG Explore for members. The Family Search Wiki in England jurisdictions maps is very helpful to start with the place you're interested in to establish what the relevant courts are and search for the documents via the Family Search catalogue to view at the SOG. And while in the SOG, it's quite possible you'll discover that Family Search is starting to run the AI full text facility over the probate documents, just making things so much easier to find. Of course, Yorkshire is served very well by very active and flourishing local record and family history societies, and of course, we have the periodicals and exchange and receive the periodicals for the local societies, including East Yorkshire. So this will be things like the East Yorkshire Family History Society Banyan Tree, the Yorkshire Archaeological Society Record and Parish Register Series, East Yorkshire Local History Series, and of course some of the older antiquarian periodicals as well. Thus far, I'm afraid we've only digitised 61 Yorkshire books from the library collection onto our online SOG data on SOG Explore, and that is mostly directories and poll books, but also we've included the Whitehead collection of Yorkshire monumental inscriptions online as well. So also the catalogue will tell you that 20 of our 118 Yorkshire poll books have been digitised thus far, and identifying them to drill down to them, you can do that if you're a member by using SOG Explore, by using the A to Z listings, and that's available for SOG members to either browse through the books or read from home. So I've just sort of pulled out, what collections there are that particularly relating to Yorkshire, and there's several up on there. And certainly will enable you to identify the directories and poll books and things which have been scanned and relevant for you to do. So having identified Yorkshire through the A to Z listings, I've identified poll books for Beverley. There are browsable images of the books and made searchable and indexed by name through a project with our volunteers. Not all of the poll books we hold are online yet, and certainly more are listed in the catalogue. But again, once the catalogue identifies something, it is on the SOG digital data. If you're a member, you can find it on the SOG Explore. Moving from the digital to our manuscript archives, and just to finish up, there are about 150 boxes in our archive of what we call the topographical place papers, and a few of these were microfiched to conserve them, but they're largely held in boxes. By topographical, we mean topographical to or dealing with a place rather than the name, which the OED defines as a sort of being describing a particular place, city, town, manor, parish. So these are basically original documents that have come to the society, arranged by place. And they came in. They were listed as new accessions in the Genealogist magazine, and they may have come from donations or clearances of solicitors' deed boxes, perhaps via us working with the British Record Association, which acts as a clearinghouse for such dispersals. Scanned copies of the old paper archive paper lists of the contents of the topographical collections can be found within a link to the Dropbox folder that's stored via our archive finding aid links on the library pages of the website. These scanned paper lists are the basis of all the new entries in our new archive catalogue that we're working on at present. So there is a box of original documents for Yorkshire. They are a bit scattered, and I couldn't actually identify East Yorkshire ones in it. We have really weeded these boxes over the years, and often older, valuable original documents have been passed on to other archives who might be able to look after them better than we could at the time. But you will definitely find in the boxes old original documents, such as this deed of a marriage settlement for George and Elizabeth Lord of Thorpe Audlin from 1694. The scanned archive finding aids also link to an Excel spreadsheet inventory of our about 9,000 manuscript we call the roll pedigrees, compiled and deposited in the archives by members here over the years. Again, because the inventory was the first to actually identify, what it was, and go on to tell you how many sheets it compiled. There's about 9,000 manuscripts and well over 20,000 sheets. These are currently have all been scanned and are being indexed by creating GEDCOM files of them, and also made more navigable by what we call tree search. But you can certainly search for the pedigrees that we have uploaded thus far onto SOG Explore from that project. They're identified as the pedigree rolls on SOG Explore. Again, the GEDCOM abstract of them has effectively created the index. Some of them are vast, big pieces, big images, and we have make them navigable through what we call the tree search function on our website. We've got grant funding to make these huge pedigrees more accessible. And again, you can play about with tree search to see how that's going to work. And eventually all the thousands of those pedigrees, including anyone's from Yorkshire families, will be indexed and within that project. So I hope that's given you an overview rather swiftly of what the Society of Genealogists holds, and I hope we can welcome you for those who are able to come and visit the society for a tour on Wednesday, the 23rd of July. It's also available for those who perhaps missed the screening. We're going to be running the screening of all the recordings of the events of today, and our librarian will be on hand to answer questions and an opportunity to meet others researching families in the same area. So she'll be taking you a tour and showing you, and I will have got out some of the items that I've mentioned today. If you have any information about us and need advice, just drop us a line via the website hello@sog.org.uk. Will be passed on to the right people if we can help you. So thank you for listening to my presentation about the society. I'll stop sharing.
Okay, and now we go over to Judith Bangs and Charlie Craddock, who are from the East Yorkshire Family History Society. Over to you, Charlie.
Hello. I'm going to talk about the East Riding, and then Judy will talk about the East Yorkshire Family History Society, and then I'll come back at the end about courses. Oh. Nope. What happened? Right. So this is where we are. It's predominantly low-lying agricultural land, dependent on grain production rather than hill farming or industrial manufacturing. The only city in the East Riding, Hull, is a port. Traditionally, though, it looks out to sea and the wider world beyond for its livelihood, rather than the countryside and its surroundings. So the landscape is a low-lying chalk hills and clay, the Yorkshire Wolds surrounded by low-lying fertile land of the Holderness Plain and the Vale of York. The Humber Estuary and the North Sea mark its southern and eastern boundaries. There's lots of archaeological finds, famously, since the last ice age. There's few large settlements and no real industrial centres. The area is administrated from the ancient market town of Beverley, and there's a higher percentage of retired people now living in the area. So the economy is mainly based on agriculture and tourism, contributing to the rural and seaside character of the riding with its historic buildings, nature reserves, and the Yorkshire Wolds Way long-distance footpath. You can learn more about the East Riding from the websites Vision of Britain and the Victorian County History websites. For statistical purposes, the entire Poor Law Union of Beverley, County Town, Bridlington, Driffield, Howden, Hull, Pattrington, Pocklington, Sculcote, Scaler and York, and thus excluding parts of the historic riding around Norton and Sherburn, which were also excluded from the modern district, but including the city of York, which usually is more associated with the West Riding. The coastal towns, 19th century, saw the growth of Withensea, Hornsey, Bridlington and Farley, helped by the introduction of the railways. Scarborough, in the North Riding, is also included in the East Yorkshire Family History Society area. Beverley is the administration centre of the East Riding, and this is where the archives are situated. And if you feel like visiting the two main churches, they're both certainly worth a visit. Hull. City of Kingston upon Hull, usually shortened to Hull, is situated on the north bank of the River Humber, a point where it widens before joining the North Sea. Hull itself is named after the small river which drains into the Humber, as you can probably see on the map. Maritime trade with other parts of England and Europe and with wider world is a thread of continuity running through Hull's history. In the 18th and 19th century, this trade expanded as Hull became the port through which industries of the West Riding and the commercial farmers of the East Riding did business with the outside world. New docks were built following the line of the town's walls, as you can see in the diagram. Although the city's long expanded beyond these lines of docks, their construction helped preserve the shape and integrity of the medieval city. Today, a walker entering the narrow, close-packed streets of the old town will immediately notice its distinctive atmosphere. Indeed, Hull's old town has often been transformed as a set for TV and films. Although never mentioned by name, simply described as a northeast coastal town, Hull suffered greatly in World War II, with over 80 bombing raids. Hull was one of the most severely damaged British cities or towns during the Second World War, with 95% of houses damaged, and it was under air raid alert for 1,000 hours. Hull was the target of the first daylight raid of the war and the last piloted air raid on Britain. Of the population of approximately 320,000 at the beginning of the war, approximately 152,000 were made homeless as a result of bomb destruction or damage. Overall, 1,200 people were killed, 3,000 injured by air raids, and more than 5,000 houses were destroyed and half the city centre destroyed. You can find a map on the internet to look at the bomb damage, or you can refer to the Hull Blitz. Occupation and migration. The East Riding being mainly agriculture in nature, so a lot of work is to do with farming. Inshore fishing from Scarborough, Bridlington and Farley provide almost tourism now has provided the main source of income. Hull used to be the centre of the whaling industry in the 19th century and then later for deep sea fishing. And in fact, we have a fishing heritage centre on Hessel Road in Hull, which is well worth a visit, and they've got databases on the fishing community. Migration. In the 19th century, it experienced significant migration patterns, while some from other areas, it saw growth. A lot of people came to Hull for, if you like, fishing. There's quite a large population came up from Norfolk, in fact. Hull's rapid population quadrupled between 1851 and 1901, mainly fueled, as I say, by it being a major port and industrial thing. The agriculture led to land consolidation, new farming techniques, and that contributed to the migration to towns and cities. Importantly, the East Riding saw migration from other parts of the UK and from overseas, including Jewish transmigration passing through Hull on the way to other destinations. Visiting the area or just needing research, these are places you might want to look at. Obviously, some of the record repositories are mentioned there, but there's also the Carnegie Heritage Centre, which I'll talk about in a minute, and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This is the Carnegie Heritage Centre. It's situated on the corner of Anlaby Road and Walton Street. All right. Gone too far. It was a free library and was one of 660 libraries built and with funds supplied by the Scottish industrialist Andrew Carnegie. It was opened in 1905, but sadly closed in 2001 when the council announced the closure. The Carnegie Heritage Action Trust was formed in 2006 with the sole aim of rescuing the building from further decline and to prepare the unique space as local history and family history resource centre, which it is today. Following a lot of hard work, the Carnegie Heritage Centre opened its doors on the 1st of January 2008. So as mentioned, this is a source for local and family history, including street directories, maps, copies of old Hull Daily Mail flashbacks, all photos of Hull and the surrounding district, and they have an internal database called the Oracle. They've got box files full of information on Old Hull, including streets, buildings, companies, schools and more. And their volunteers are always happy to help with inquiries on both local and family history, and they have records of all local casualties from both World Wars. The centre's opened on Tuesday and Friday from 9:30 to 2:30 for the research. And as I say, all the volunteers are there able to help, and all their publications are available to purchase. You see their website for detail.
The Society was formed in 1977, and we will be celebrating our Golden Jubilee in 2027. We hope to have some special events to mark the occasion. The Society is a registered charity which aims to help people search their roots in the eastern area of Yorkshire. The East Yorkshire Family History Society came about after a discussion by two founding members. After intensive publications on local radio and in local papers, 50 interested people came to the reference library in Beverley on the 1st of February 1977. We cover the county of the East Riding and the old Archdeaconry of the East Riding. By the autumn of that year, when the Society's first journal, called the Banyan Tree, was produced, there were over 100 members. Eventually, there were 4 meetings a month in Beverley, Bridlington, Hull and Scarborough. Sadly, we now only have 1 meeting in Hull 4 times a year. One of the earliest projects was recording monumental inscriptions in the threatened churchyard of North Throddingham. We now have recorded over 213,000 graves in 301 churchyards and 43 cemeteries. We have also recorded various parish registers as well as several miscellaneous books relating to This is a map that we produce, which can be bought, showing all the places that we cover. And this one is for Hull, showing the churches. It's very useful. On the reverse side, it gives details of the churches with their dates and the reference numbers for the archives. Key activities, we run various help desks across the East Riding, mainly in libraries. Our email address where you can submit queries is helpdesk@eyfhs.co.uk. We've published census, parish registers and memorial inscriptions, MIs, in book form, which can be ordered from me, the publication secretary, or on GenFair. We run family history courses 3 times a year in conjunction with the Carnegie Heritage Centre. All our transcriptions are in book form unless otherwise indicated. The memorial inscriptions contain everything that appears on a headstone, and in most cases, the parish register or burial register will be mentioned. The immense project has taken over 30 years and comprises of over 300 booklets. We have 2 cemeteries left to record to complete this mammoth task. The census indexes to the 1851 and 1861 for the East Riding are available on 2 CDs. Parish register transcripts, Bridlington Priory, Hull Holy Trinity, Sculcoats, and a few others have been transcribed. Our publication list is available at our website. Other resources, the Society has a drowned index for this area, a library of books relating to genealogy, various CDs, marriage license index up to 1837, a booklet called Lost in the Ridings, which lists all the places in the whole of Yorkshire with which archive and society covers which area, War Graves of East Yorkshire, and a booklet, Civilian War Dead, covering the whole of Yorkshire. We hold several types of events on a regular or one-off basis. Some of them are quarterly meetings, regular help desk in libraries and at Carnegie. See our events diary for these. We have a list of our forthcoming events. Our quarterly magazine, The Banyan Tree, is the name of the Society's award-winning journal, which is published quarterly and distributed free of charge to our members. Each issue contains lots of articles, news reports of meetings, book reviews, forthcoming events, and other fascinating stories, snippets, and tips, all written by members for members. The name Banyan Tree was suggested by Tom Harrison, one of our founders. The banyan tree throws out branches which eventually drop to the ground, take root, and grow into new trees. Tom had spent many years in India and seen many such trees, which he likened to a growing family. Membership. You are welcome to explore and make use of our resources, but to get the best from the Society, you might like to consider joining. Everyone is welcome, and we do have lots of members from all over the world. There are some very good reasons for joining the East Yorkshire Society. Just a few of them are on the next slide. You can join or renew your membership on the membership applications and renewals page. Membership of the East Yorkshire Family History Society is valid for a period of 12 months, commencing on the 1st of January each year. Applications received on or before the 31st of October will be for the current year. Those received after that date will be carried forward to the following year. At present, there are 3 rates, one for UK members, £15, one for overseas members, £20, and one for digital PDF copy, £12, delivered to a valid email address, UK or worldwide. Benefits of membership. In the real world of family history, genealogy, it doesn't quite happen as easily as the TV shows would have you believe. What really counts more than anything is experience. By joining a family history society, you will be able to share the experience of fellow members, happy to help you smash through those walls which we encounter from time to time. We can also offer you the following: our banyan tree delivered to your door, free access to Grade 2 listed research centre, regular meetings at Hull, post your research interest on our website, free members bulletin board, free publicity in the banyan tree, and free access to our numerous regional help desks. You can download the latest edition of the banyan tree and past editions, access to a list of birth, marriage and death certificates that we hold, visit our list of other members' interests and contact details, an index to all the names in our monumental inscription booklets, so you can decide which of the 300 booklets to buy, a Godfrey Maps Whole Street index, and the list goes on. Apply to join. Membership application and renewals. Yeah. Our shop.
Website.
Oh, sorry, the website. Right.
So
Right.
that's our website, which you can visit and find more information about us.
Thank you very much, Judith and Charlie. Is that it?
No,
one more bit. Okay, coming.
we've got a bit more.
Right. Our shop, you can find us now on Gen Fair and order books from there.
Okay. Right. We also have a social media platform on Facebook to keep you up to date with our activities. We run family history courses 3 times a year. A beginner's course, although some hands-on is quite reference needed. We include, as you can see, family search. As was mentioned earlier, that includes catalogue, wiki, whole cemeteries, which are to a large extent becoming online, the Internet Archives, which the Yorkshire Archaeological Society, for example, Brantingham, as downloadable as a PDF and searchable. We also have marriage license books in 10-year intervals till 1837. The 5-week course, death burials. Now, with the wills, Find My Past index, when you look at that index, if there is a folio number noted with it, then one could go to a family search centre and download the will to see them. We always rely on volunteers. Can you help? And then what are you looking for? These are sites. They're slightly colour coded because Ancestry and Find My Past are both free in libraries. Free BMD, as most people will know, gives mother's maiden name from 1912. The GRO is covered in yellow because it's quite hard to search. It only lets you do plus or minus 2 years, and you've got to do it separately for male and female. Again, with the archives, these are some of the things that you can do. A little hint, when you do the search, put in the name in quotation marks, then you get William Wilkinson and not just all the Williams and all the Wilkinsons. The History Centre refer to their research guides. They're very useful. Some other useful sources are included there. And family search, as I say, the catalogue, go to the catalogue for whole cemetery records, which are a wonderful new resource that family search are now putting online and searchable. Wiki for background information. And as I say, Yorkshire Wills at the family search centres, providing there is a folio number. That is it.
Thank you so much, very much indeed.
Like,
Oh,
I'm an
can you
sorry, just go back to the beginning, Hannah, and I'll press
Okay,
record.
wait, because I'm going to give you a little brief introduction. Okay, after Rachel presses the button anytime now. Let me just spotlight you though, Hannah, at the side there. Actually, if you turn your video, personal video off, you'll just get your name. Bottom left-hand corner, the video button rather than the audio button. No, don't. Sorry. No, but you have to reshare, sorry. Yeah, that's it. Okay, right. After Rachel presses the button to start the recording, I will do a brief introduction, then Hannah, you start your presentation. Thank you. Okay, we now have Hannah Stamp, who's an archivist at the East Ridings Archives and Local Studies Service. Over to you, Hannah.
Hello, my name's Hannah Stamp, and it's a delight to speak with you all. I'm an archivist at the East Riding Archives and Local Studies Service based in Beverley, East Yorkshire. We are located at the Champney Treasure House, which has many things you can do on your visit. In addition to the archives, we have an on-site museum, the Beverley Art Gallery and Library, and not to forget the brilliant cafe, which will keep you refueled with lots of coffee and cake whilst doing your research. So to give you a brief summary of who we are, the East Riding Archives are the County Record Office for the East Riding, and our purpose is to collect, preserve and make accessible the documented heritage of the East Riding for future generations. Our collections span from the 12th century to the present day, and they directly relate to the people and places of the East Riding. Although we are a council-run service, our audiences are not just limited to the East Riding. We have people from all over the world visiting us as part of their ancestral tourism journeys, which is really quite exciting. We are also a free service, and offer a wide range of activities and events for people of all ages to take part in. Our research rooms are contemporary workspaces with lots of facilities on offer to help you with your research. Upon entering the room, we have archive assistants who will welcome you and help you with your inquiries. You can make use of our photocopiers, printers, and free Wi-Fi. We have a suite of computers which will provide you with free access to websites such as Find My Past, Ancestry Library, and the British Newspaper Archive. We are part of the Archives Card scheme, which is the successor to the County Archive Research Network scheme. So we do encourage you to sign up for one of these free cards via the Archives Card website before your visit. As an archive service, we are very fortunate to be open 6 days a week, and that includes 2 late evenings when we are open until 7:45. If you're a bit of a night owl like me, then you might find the later evening visits quite beneficial. On the shelves in the research room, we have a range of useful finding aids and indexes, local studies books, such as the Victoria County History Series and also the East Yorkshire Family History Society Monumental Inscription booklets. Other useful finding aids include our East Riding Cemeteries indexes, which are very handy if you are searching for an individual who may be buried in one of the council's cemeteries. All you need to do is look up their name. We have a secure area of the research room dedicated to consulting original material, and this includes a very large map table. Assistants will be here to support you with document handling and any other inquiries. For a desk space in here, you will need to book an appointment 24 hours in advance with a list of the documents that you wish to consult. For a small fee, you can also take photographs of documents on your own device, or if you bring along your own USB stick, we have a high-tech scanner which will scan JPEGs, TIFFs, PDF files of documents up to A2 size. So what collections do we have that will benefit you as family historians researching East Yorkshire? So we care for nearly 1,000 years of East Riding's documented heritage, which is quite a lot. So I've narrowed it down to some key collections that I think will be most useful. For those life milestones, our parish records are the best place to start looking for East Riding ancestors. We are the designated place of deposit for the records of the Archdeaconry of the East Riding, and that does include Hull and Scarborough, as you can see on that Diocese of York map. Our areas are covered in blue. So there are over 200 parish collections held by us currently, and they span from the present day, if the church has deposited their completed register with us, and depending on the parish, the records may go back as early as 1538. And these are all original registers. A family historian favourite are the Dade registers. We have a limited amount for the East Riding, such as for North Cave, as pictured. We've got Sancton and Wetwan, and these include entries with much more information than the standard registers, such as when a person died and their cause of death. For those of you unable to visit us in person, our Church of England parish registers are digitised and indexed on Find My Past. We are also delighted to share that our registers will also shortly be on Ancestry. After a lengthy digitisation project, over 2,500 volumes have been scanned, and they are now in the hands of Ancestry for indexing by their volunteers. So watch this space for when we launch these records on the Ancestry website. For our Methodist ancestors, our collections include records of the various circuits. In these collections, you may find baptisms, birth records, marriages, and burial records, depending on the chapel. If you're researching Quakers, our Quaker collection provides an insight into their lives in the East Riding via minute books. The suffering books are interesting in particular as they detail the persecution and harassment experienced by the Friends, and they record any fines and sentences received. For births, deaths, burials and marriages, those are on microfilm on site at the archives or online via Ancestry. Some more nonconformist church collections include the East Riding Baptist, United Reformed Church, the Congregational Church. Records in these cases may include membership registers and again baptisms, marriages and burials. For the Roman Catholic Church, we don't hold any original records. On site, we do have microfiche copies of the registers, which are also available on Find My Past. Many of the East Riding Catholic churches will have records in the churches itself, and their designated archive is the Middlesbrough Diocesan Archives, as they hold the Catholic Church records for the East Riding. So moving on to a different type of record, the records of the manor are, I would say, an untapped but wealthy resource for family historians. The manor was the basic unit of local government until the parish took over this role during the Tudor period. A manor generally comprised of a manor house with a village and its associated lands in ownership by an estate or a lord. So the records produced as part of how the manor is managed may include court rolls, deeds, surveys, maps and rentals, or which may mention our East Riding ancestors. So on the screen here you can see an example of a deed from the 1400s. It lists the various free tenants who hold land in the manors of Anlaby, Ella, Hessel and Ferriby. So these are full of information from the early Middle Ages onwards, but they do of course come with their challenges as well, such as reading the handwriting, the language and the physical nature of the documents themselves. Some of them might be quite long scrolls. Official manorial records before 1734 were written in Latin, but many of the supporting documents began to change to English from the 1500s. The Commonwealth period of 1649 to 1660 is an exception, where all the records were written in English to make records more accessible to the people. When you're exploring our manorial records, many of them will list individual by name. For example, call rolls or call books will list the tenants who were required to attend the manor courts, perhaps as jurors. Court books and court rolls, these document the transfer of land from one person to another and will detail the names of all the parties involved. Rentals will also list names and show how much they are paying the lord of the manor in rent. Here's just a few examples of manorial collections we hold at the East Riding. It is worth looking at the manorial documents register online, which is maintained by the National Archives, to help you locate where the records of particular manors are held. For council-run cemeteries across the East Riding, the records cover the 1860s all the way to the 20th century. Now, these are very useful as they will provide a plot number, and we also do have some plans of the cemeteries so you can identify the specific plot location, especially if there isn't a headstone in place. The registers may also provide the cause of death, their profession, their residence, whether a body was buried or cremated remains, particularly from 1900 onwards. Our coroner's collection, I would say, is not the most enjoyable read unless you're a Victorian crime enthusiast, but for family historians, they provide names, cause and location of death, and sometimes even photographs of individuals, though I must advise viewer discretion on these. The inquest from the Victorian period may go into quite some detail with witness statements, which have been used to form a picture of how a person met their demise. Very often the local newspapers will complement the coroner's records, and so you can find out more information by looking at both. Moving on to quarter sessions, Court sessions were held 4 times a year in each county, so hence the term quarter sessions. Now, our quarter sessions collection covers 1647 through to 1971 and is particularly useful for family historians because they detail people accused of crimes, may give the verdict, the punishment, and there may also be witness statements. These are fully catalogued for the East Riding, so you will be able to search by person's name on our online catalogue to see if they had any involvement with the law. The example on screen is an indictment record. It details a Robert Barrett of Sculcoats who is accused of witchcraft and fortune telling and knowledge of the occult to help find lost or stolen goods. You can see the annotations on the documents. It shows that he was found guilty and his punishment was time in the House of Correction in Beverley and also the pillory. It's a very interesting story and just one of thousands in this collection, with punishments ranging from fines in the stocks all the way to being transported beyond the seas to Australia. If your ancestors worked for the police, we hold staffing records for the East Riding Constabulary and also the Hull City Police. The appointment books are particularly useful as you can almost draw a picture of what that person looked like. They will tell you the hair and eye colour, their age, height, and their occupation before being appointed to the police force. It may give you their marital status and the names of any children and so on. So very useful sources for family historians. If you suspect a history of migration runs in the family line, these alien registration records from the police collections may be of use to you. They are often found in the police collections because aliens were legally required to register with the police from 1914 onwards, and they had to pay a registration fee. And in return, they would receive a certificate. Most of ours date from the Second World War period, and they are searchable on our archives catalogue online. It is a fascinating resource which highlights the diverse range of people and nationalities that were coming into the East Riding during this period. We've got Dutch, German, Italian, Greek, Icelandic, and so on. I do need to note that due to data protection laws, some of these records are still under the 100-year closure period, but our catalogue will tell you specifically which records are closed for further consultation. In all cases, whether open or closed, you will get the basic information of name, occupation, place of residence, and nationality. Apprenticeship registers that will provide details of family trades, as well as the apprentice's name, their parents' name, their master, and the profession they chose. For example, here is the brother of feminist Mary Wollstonecraft. He's called Henry, and he is about to embark on an apprenticeship with Marmaduke Hewitt, who is a surgeon and apothecary, and that is to be held in Beverley for the duration of 7 years. There are over 3,000 entries for apprenticeships, and they cover Beverley and also some Bridlington Key apprentices. So moving on to Old Poor Law. Since the Elizabethan period, the responsibility for the poor was the church via the overseers of the poor. As family historians, we may want to trace where a family came from before their current parish of residence, or find the father of an illegitimate child. There are many questions that these Old Poor Law records can help us with. For example, here's a bastardy examination from a lady called Anne Todd of Austwick, and it's particularly useful for determining the father of a child born to an unmarried woman in this case. In this examination, Anne is saying that a Robert Watson, a servant to John Jefferson of Winstead, is the father of her male child. Here's an example of a removal order. Again, these are generally found in the quarter sessions collections. They're issued if after an examination that someone and perhaps their family were deemed to not be settled in the parish in which they were currently residing. and they may have required some poor relief. This removal order dictates that they will be removed back to their original parish of settlement. When accompanied by an examination, such as this one relating to Mary Gray, whose husband left her and the children at Pocklington to go to America, these records can provide a closer insight into the struggles of everyday people, and they can often provide you with a potted biography. In 1834, the old Poor Law was overhauled by the Poor Law Amendment Act. Now, the boards of guardians and poor law unions were established. For the East Riding, the records are quite fragmented, and you will mostly find Board of Guardians minutes, accounts, and general ledgers in these collections. Though amongst the various Poor Law Union collections, some of them I've listed there, some have some useful records of family history, such as lists of people receiving poor relief at Bridlington or births and deaths in the workhouse at Driffield. So here's a closer look at a register of births in the Driffield workhouse. You can see it's quite detailed, and it lists the name of the child, whether they were baptised. It gives you the name of the mother and her parish. The register also lists those sad cases of stillborn children as well. With regards to hospitals, we hold extensive historic hospital records for across the whole East Riding. Here's an example of one from the Broadgate Hospital casebooks. And these casebooks are particularly useful as these give you a person's age, their marital status, when they were admitted to hospital, why, when they were discharged, or whether there is a death date. It will also give you extra information relating to their wider situation and their health. If you're looking at schools, we hold over 250 school collections, and 100 of them are actually in the Hull area. It is important to note that due to data protection laws, school records do have a 100-year closure period on them, but where the record is older than 100 years, it will be open for public consultation. Many of these collections contain admission records, which will tell you when a child was first admitted into the school, where they came from, the date of birth, parents' name and address. Logbooks are quite different. They mostly describe the everyday goings-on of the school. However, sometimes there are pupils directly mentioned in cases of being sent home, or if the head teacher has any welfare concerns about the child. Punishment books will provide an insight into how the school disciplined their pupils, and it will detail pupils' names, the nature of the offence, such as disobedience, and what punishment they received, which may have been 2 strokes on the hand with a cane. Now, wills are an invaluable source of information, particularly for establishing family relationships and detailing what a person owned. Before 1858, most wills were proved in church courts. The East Riding is in the Diocese of York, so any wills for this period were proved at York, and they are held at the Borthwick Institute. After 1858, civil probate registries are responsible for wills, and you can now make use of the gov.uk's Find a Will online database to access these. So with this in mind, what we do hold at the East Riding Archives are thousands of copies, drafts and will extracts, ranging from the 16th century all the way through to the 20th century. And they tend to be found in family, estate and solicitors' collections. Wills involving property may also be recorded in the East Riding Register of Deeds collection. Until the formation of the regular army in the 17th century, the principal and often only force available for the defence of the country was made up of civilians. The muster rolls we hold cover the whole East Riding. They are separated into their various divisions, and they feature lists of men who are able-bodied and capable of military service. In addition to names, they also list the person's place of abode and their occupation. Our World War I Lives project collection will be of interest to those researching military ancestors of this period. This project collection is the result of many years of work compiled by our dedicated volunteers who have researched and created potted biographies of over 1,200 East Riding service personnel. Many of these soldiers do have photographs. The collection is always growing as more soldiers are researched, and you can find out much more about this project on our website and see our online exhibition. For the Second World War, we don't have full access to the same records yet as we did for research in the First World War, but we do have details of individuals who served in the East Riding Home Guard, which provide information such as names, addresses, next of kin, date of birth, any appointments, and the reason for discharge. So all this information can be found in the various company books for the Home Guard. Some other interesting World War II records that mention individuals are the National Pigeon Service owners' logbooks, which detail the member's registration number, their name, address, and the name of the station to which they were attached. In addition to this, you also get lots of information about the pigeons themselves. And the Civil Defence Volunteer record cards are very useful as well. They provide a civilian's name, their home and work addresses, their occupation, their year of birth or age on enrolment, and also what role they signed up for. So they may have become a warden or took part in the welfare, the ambulance service, or the rescue service. So you've now seen very, very briefly some of the primary source collections we have at the East Riding Archives. And of course, there is much more to discover. There's a list of some other useful types of records we hold there that I didn't have time to speak about today, but you can look into further via our catalogue. So where can you start your own research journey with our collections? So our archives catalogue should be your first place to look, and it's accessible via that web link there. Our catalogue is a database of all our holdings, all 500,000 of them and growing. It will tell you if the record is available for consultation, and it will provide you with descriptions of records. If there's something that you would like a copy of or to consult in person, please do get in touch with us by phone, email, letter, and quote the document's unique finding number. So when you have a spare moment, just type in various search terms in the search bar. It might be a person's name, an address, a place, and just see what comes up. The catalogue is your gateway to a whole world of records which aren't available via the big genealogy website, and most likely also won't have been digitised yet. As we are now in the digital age, we have invested in a digital repository which not only preserves our digital collections, we have a terabyte and growing here at the East Riding Archives, but it also enables us to make them available to the public. So you can access our digital archive online via that link, and again use the search bar to type in whatever you like. You can listen to oral history interviews or watch historical East Riding film and view digital photographs, all from the comfort of your own home. So do take a look at those, as you may be able to hear an ancestor's voice, listen to their story, or see them on video. Our website links you through to everything that I've spoken about today, such as our archives catalogue and our digital repository. On here you can see which events we have happening, and also view a series of online exhibitions such as COVID in the East Riding, Hornsey Pottery, and First World War Soldiers. Coming very soon will be an online virtual tour of the public space in archives and the rest of the Champney Treasure House building, all in the style of Google Street View. So you will be able to familiarise yourself with the space before your in-person visit. So keep your eye out for this later on in the year. So please do come and visit us on site in Beverley. Just give us a ring or send us an email with all your family history questions and brick walls. We are more than happy to help. I hope you've enjoyed this overview of researching East Yorkshire ancestors in our collections, and thank you so much for listening.
That's great. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you very much. And now we go over to Martin Wells, who is from the Historic Towns Trust. Martin.
Hello, I'm Martin Wills and I'm the Development Manager at the Historic Towns Trust. I'd like to explain what we do as an organisation and how our approach might be of interest and value to the genealogy and family history community of this region. The Historic Towns Trust is a charity run by volunteers, and our motto, mapping our shared history one town at a time, sums up our mission to widen understanding and appreciation of the history and topography of our towns and cities. We do this by producing historical maps and atlases of British towns and cities in partnership with local historians, geographers and archaeologists through educational and outreach activities, for example by developing teaching materials or contributing to events such like this. We aim to share how historical maps can help us to understand the value of our urban past, potentially improving the present. Our publications are used by individuals in schools and universities and by community groups. Just as a family history contributes to a broader understanding of society in the past, making and using historical maps can help us to see how history shapes environment and how the environment shapes those who inhabit it. Histories of people and histories of place go together and illuminate each other. And here are a few examples of some of the maps we produced in recent years. So far, we've covered over 30 towns and cities through one publication or another, and half a dozen more are in development. Though this is only a tiny fraction of the historic towns and cities in Britain, it's a start, and given the huge importance of migration, of population movement in the history of Britain, wherever you live now, one or more of these may well have played a part in your wider family history. So these are the places that we've covered so far, and there's a full list at the end of this presentation to show you the places we've mapped. Publications were in atlas form, which is a large comprehensive study into towns and cities. In recent years, we focused more on producing maps of individual towns and cities. These are a lot more usable, kind of in an ordnance survey map style, which can be folded out and taken around with you. So in East Yorkshire, however, we've only done one publication so far, which is Beverley, although we do have far more from the wider Yorkshire area, so including Hull, Ripon, York, and most recently, just in June this year, we've published a map of Bradford. So typically our historical maps show past and present together, and here's an example here. This is our map of Beverley. This is, after all, the way that we experience towns and cities today. The modern scene includes surviving buildings and ancient street lines, historic place names, and commemorations of past events and people. So all our maps are based on an ordnance survey map from either the late 19th century or earlier 20th century. For example, in Beverley's case, it's a map from 1909, and this is here, and this is the kind of footprint that we covered. We believe it's important to use a map that predates modern developments and shows the underlying historic layout. This helps the viewer and user to relate what's now visible to what was once there. It's then digitized and edited to form the basis of the map, to which we have added historical features, including some which have disappeared. Here's an extract then from our Beverley map, and you can see the natural and man-made topographical features that underline the modern townscape, which are marked alongside the historical features. So what makes our maps unique is that we have the layers of history all shown in one place on one map. So you can have Roman ruins next to industrial buildings, for example, or medieval walls next to now vanished waterways. So it really gives you that impression of a complete history of the town and city. So this is an extract from Beverley, as I said, and through speaking to the team who researched the Beverley map, we're always throwing up and finding out new things about a town or city that we map through our work. And one of the things that we were able to show and what pulled together through the Beverley map was all the now extinct and not visible waterways that ran through the town, and also how that stimulated industry and commerce there. So you would see lots of factory buildings or tanneries all situated on the now extinct waterways, which without bringing all that information together in one place, it would have been harder to know and harder to evidence. So also what features on our map which is very important, is this key or legend, which tells you what all the symbols and colours mean within the map that you're looking at. So this really allows us to give such a layered history in one place. And I always say that through this key and through understanding the colours in the map, you can instantly get an idea of the impression of the town or city you're looking at. But also it means that you can literally spend about an hour in one square of the map, really looking in on the detail, and all that's covered there. There's so much information in one given square, and the partners we worked with when we did the Perth map said, and summed it up quite well, that it's probably literally about 1,000 books worth of information in one of our map, and it's pulled in all together in one place, which can really help you look into the locations of old family members or where they were situated in the town or city. Also, here on the back of the map, we've got what we call the gazetteer, which is a street directory and gives all the key information on the map. The reader can find the addresses and location of buildings, events and activities from the past, all included in this section. We also get a chance sometimes as well to have another extract from another area within the town or city, and we can also show some images and of what we're talking about within the gazetteer. So if you're interested in developing your own historical map, then it's very much something that we encourage you to get in touch with us. There's so many places we'd like to map within England, Scotland and Wales. But what's very important is that we never do this work by ourselves, and we're really indebted to and work very closely with local collaborations and local community groups to get their expertise and enthusiasm for research in the project that's then passed on to our cartographic editor who builds the map. So here's a nice example of the project we did, and that's Mick Stanley there, who led the project in Ripon. So when we worked with him to build that map, he led the team of researchers and gave us the information which helped us build the map. And it's really key to how we work, that we're working with local community members and groups. So a little bit on the sources of information that we bring together for our maps, and again this is something that is quite unique about how we pull together all the information in mapping terms. So first of all, the National Library of Scotland for OS Maps is absolutely fantastic resource if you've not used that before, and this is what we use to pull out the information to make the base map that I was talking about earlier. But then what we do is build on using lots of different sources to put them all in one place in a map. So for example, we might have archaeological surveys that we bring in, which of course won't be shown in an OS map. We might use all kinds of sources from history and from working through archives to build an idea of what the city used to look like and what buildings used to be there and where they were situated. So we're pulling in lots of different resources, lots of different sources, lots of different expertise and lots of different people who we collaborate with to build this really comprehensive view of the nature of the town and city we're mapping. And then what we do with this information, as I've said before, is we pull it all together and we give it to Giles Darks, who's shown here, who's our cartographic editor. And he's the person who uses this information to build a very comprehensive and detailed map. So you can see his process and how he does it. If you go to our YouTube page, you can see a talk he delivered about how he will create the map using the sources we get. So yeah, he's very much key to how we work and pulling all the information together to make it a visible and clear map for people to enjoy. So here we have a list of all the places that we've currently mapped. So this is including our atlases, which is more of a deep dive and more of a comprehensive study. But these are the ones that you can purchase from our website, and the QR code is there if you're interested in buying one. But you can just Google shop at Historic Towns Trust and you'll find how you can buy the maps as well. So we've got to about, I think we're on 20, Bradford was our 22nd, which was just released last month. So if any of those interest you, just have a look on our website and you can buy yourself a copy. also just to underline that we are a charity ourselves, so we are always looking for donations to continue our work. So if you're interested in donating or to find out more about what we do, you can contact me or donate through the QR code here. We're a lot more than just making the maps themselves. What we want to do with the maps after they're published is to make school resources, which we're currently doing in Bath and Chester, but also make activities and outreach events that can get people involved with local history and learn more about their town and city. So there's an example there of us in Ipswich in the archives there, planning some activities with Mandy Rawlings, who works for the council, and also there's an event that we did in Bristol where a theatre company made an interpretation of a story based on our historical map of Bristol, and took people around on a walking tour. So if you want to find out more about what we do, or you're interested in getting involved, or indeed making a map yourselves, or how our maps can help more with your research and family history, then do get in touch. Sorry I couldn't be there today. I'm not working today, so this is why I've sent in the video myself. And if I was doing it live, you'd have a toddler appearing every so often, which I don't think would be very conducive environment to learn about the Historic Towns Trust. So this is why I've videoed and sent in. But I hope it's a wonderful event, and I'm sorry I can't be there. Any questions, just get in touch with us, the Historic Towns Trust. But thanks very much for your attention. Cheers, bye.
Thank you very much, Martin. Now for the Victoria County History Talk, we go over to Freya Verstatten-Veach, who's from the Victoria County Histories organisation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Apologies, first of all, for not appearing live, but in a pre-recorded message. And a thank you to the Society of Genealogists for inviting me to talk to you about Victoria County history. So my plan here is to give you a short talk on the VCH, tell you a little bit about its background, about what we do as a project, and how we can help you in your family history. So the Victoria County History was established in 1899 and dedicated to Queen Victoria, hence the name. Since 1933, it's been attached to the University of London, and it's been there ever since, and linked there to the Institute of Historical Research. So the plan, the whole setup, is really to give an encyclopedic record of the history of each of the counties of England. The resulting research then is presented in what we call big red books, which you can see there. You can see examples of them on the screen, and they're basically very comprehensive but particular histories of a geographical area. So initially, each of these books was meant to cover a county, as you would expect from the title, but it was soon decided that actually these were a bit unwieldy. They were a bit too large for a single red book in certain situations, so for instance in Yorkshire. It was decided then that smaller chunks would be offered for a single book. So in the East Riding, that meant a beacon maybe, or a part of a beacon, or a wapentake, or part of a wapentake, or a town. So Beverley has had its own volume, Driffield, Hull, and more recently Howden as well. So this is then one of the title pages. The books are meant to be very comprehensive. We basically start in prehistory and we bring you right up to the modern day. But our focus is very much on the period for which we have written records. So really from the Middle Ages onward up until now. And we look to primary sources very much. We do take secondary sources into account, but the idea really is to focus on primary sources, give you a base from which other research can emerge, So we look at things like charters, deeds, patent close, fine rolls, newspaper articles, census data, manorial records, court records, all kinds of basic primary sources. So the books also offer a lot of footnotes as a result, because we basically give you so many little facts, but behind each fact is an awful lot of research. So I can really recommend you go to the footnotes and follow up on the research that we've done, and that will provide you with more information, and that stuff then can help you with your own research. So having been set up 126 years ago, obviously we've had to contend with different changes, so county boundary changes, parish boundary changes. So it's important to keep in mind that when we talk about parishes, and we do because the evidence that we offer within these red books is organised by parish. When we talk about these parish boundaries, we are looking at the 19th century parish boundaries, not the modern day parish boundaries. That isn't always important, but in some cases it is. So what has been published so far for the East Riding? Well, so far we've had 10 volumes come out, as you can see. Between 1907 and 1913, 3 volumes have appeared for Yorkshire in general. Those are general editions, so to speak, volumes. And in 1961, a volume appeared for the city of York. But for the East Riding, these 10 have appeared afterwards. So as you can see, the late 1960s, it really kicked off. 1970s, 1980s, several things appeared, and there was a bit of a break. And then in the 2000s, it started up again. So I can show you on a map now how that translates to geographically to the area that we've covered. So the white area is what we haven't done yet. So volume 1 is for the city of Hull, in red here on the map, and so on and so forth. So we are now looking at 2 other projects on top of what we've already done. Volume 11 is the Wilton Beacon division, so that covers sort of an area between Bishop Wilton in the north, Yapham in the east. We go to Pocklington, Burnbean on Burnholm, Millington, Hugate. That whole region is covered by volume 11, and we're quite close to finishing that up. We're in the proofreading stages. Hopefully this will come out relatively soon. But in the meantime, we've already started on volume 12, on the research for that volume. And that's going to cover the Holme Beacon division. So that's really the region from Thornton in the north, along the River Derwent, Ellerton, Wrestle, and then across to Holme and Spalding Moor, Market Wheaton, Goodmanham, Hayton, Shipton Thorpe, that area. So that will be the second volume coming up, the second project that we're working on at the moment. But it'll be a little while before that's out. It takes a few years before these things are done. Oh yeah, and that translates to these areas on the map here. So Wilton Beacon in blue and Holme Beacon there in grey. So how can we be useful to you? So our books are very much focused on place rather than on individuals, but we do mention individuals too, and families. So as I said, within any certain area, our information is presented by parish. We go through various topics for every parish. So these are generally the topics that we cover: landscape, so geography, settlement, land ownership, economy, religion, social history, and local government. So that means that we don't look just at the most prominent landed family in the area. We really look at individuals who have been very active in the community, so maybe vicars, schoolmasters, people who have established societies or charitable organizations. We also look at architecture and all kinds of other things. So it really covers a whole broad scope. We also look at how people made a living, so, and how the land was cultivated. So we also look at crops, obviously the East Riding is a very agricultural area, so we look at agriculture, but we also look at fishing, because we're on the coast. We look at trade and transport. All these things are covered. So if we don't cover your family or any particular individual that you're interested in, we might still be useful, because we might still provide you with context for your family history. Let's see. Right, and then just to conclude, I would like to direct you to a few websites. If you were interested in having a look at our publications, the publisher is Boydell and Brewer, so you could still go to their website and buy a copy of an early or recent volume, but they are not cheap. They usually come in at around £95 per volume. Good news is that actually some of them are available online. Now, these are not the most recent ones, but we hope to sort of add more to this website. So the Institute of Historical Research has its own website where, so that's British History Online, where you can find a lot of primary sources, but also some of our Victoria County History volumes. You can also find the volumes on in your local library. So they're the East Riding Archives in Beverley have a full series, a full set of all the relevant East Riding books on their shelves, so you can visit your local archives or your library and view them there. The local libraries such as Driffield or Howden or Goole will have copies of their relevant books as well. So that's another option. Yes, and finally, if you are interested in the Victoria County history and want to know more, I can direct you to our website, which is here at the bottom of the page, history.ac.uk research county history, Victoria County history. My head is right over the Victoria bit, but that is the website. So thank you for listening, and I hope it's been of some use to you.
Thank you, Freya. Thank you very much. Our final presentation today is by Paula Ocott and Humphrey Southall, and From a Vision of Britain Through Time.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to speak to you about our website, A Vision of Britain Through Time. This website is designed to help you find information about the place that your ancestors lived in. So it covers the whole of Great Britain and is to give you a sense of what things were like in the past. You can search by using a place name or a postcode, and the results you get back will be a combination of old maps, statistics, and descriptions written in the past about that place. We bring together all the information based on the place that you're looking for. We don't include any information about individual people, buildings, or streets, but we do cover the whole of Great Britain in terms of villages and towns. So this is the home page of the website at the moment, and as you can see on the left hand side there is a search box and this is where you type your place name or postcode. Once you've typed it in, so once I've typed in the name of the place, and for today we're going to use Driffield as the example, it presents me with a list of search results, in this case 3 options and an indicator of where in the country they are. So for this example we're going to use the first one, Driffield East Riding. And now we've landed on the home page for Driffield East Riding. If there was only a single place in the country that had the place name that I typed in, I would immediately come to this page and I would skip the previous results page. So the place home page is designed to give you information straight away. On the right you have an outline map with an indicator of where in the country the place is. You have an excerpt from an historical map in the centre, and beneath that you have an extract from an historical description of the place. Now, if you want to read the whole of this entry, you can click on the further information and it will show you the whole of the excerpt. Once you've read that, you might think, what else can I read about this place? And if you look on the left, you'll see a link to historical places and writing. And if we click on that, it takes us through to a page with other links to historical writing we have in the system. At the top we have links to other entries in historical gazetteers, the 19th century descriptions from the Imperial Gazetteer. In the middle we have descriptions of associated places with Driffield, and at the bottom we have entries from travel writing. In this particular example we only have one, which is William Camden, who wrote a county by county description of the country at the turn of the 17th century. So if we click on this link for William Camden, it immediately takes us to the entry where he's talking about Driffield, and it's his first reference to the place. As you can see, there are 2 references, so if you scan further down you'll find another reference to Driffield. On the right hand side there is a dot map which indicates all of the places that Camden mentioned in this section of his work. As you can see, there are a lot in Yorkshire and a few scattered in other places. So once you've read through this the travel writing, you might decide you wanted to look at some other information about Driffield. So if we return to the place home page, we can now use it as a stepping stone to other information. Firstly, the historical map excerpt at the top. If you click on this, when you arrive at this page, you are now looking at our map library. You'll see that the map window is centered on Driffield, so it's already retained the information that is the place you are looking for. You'll see there are a number of different tabs with different kinds of maps in them, and you can see a list of the series of the maps that we hold. Underneath, you'll see the beginning of a list of individual map sheets. These can be expanded to show the entire sheet. Now, as you move within the map window, so pan and zoom the map window, the list underneath will update to show you the most relevant map sheets we hold for the view that you are looking at in the map window. If I was to click on one of the map sheets in the list below, it will open a new window showing that sheet. I've just used this one from 1910 as an example but we have lots of other maps. This is about the level of detail of the maps that we hold. Now if we go back to the place page, you'll see on the left we also have various other links. To go to the related websites link and click on that, it takes you to a page that lists a number of other websites that also include information about Driffield. Now if you were to click on any one of these links, it will take you to that website for the page about Driffield, and this is true for any place page in our site. Finally, we have statistics in our website, and we look at them in two ways. So from the place page, you can click on Driffield through time at the bottom, and this takes you to the modern information. Now Driffield is currently part of the East Riding of Yorkshire Unitary Authority. I should say that the information within our website is current to 2011 at the moment. We are in the process of updating that to be 2021. Please bear with us. So this information is about the modern local authorities. And you can see we have a number of different themes that we have statistics for. And you can choose to look at any one of these themes. For this example, I'm going to use population. So if I click on the population link here, I arrive at this page. At the top, we have a number of graphs that show rates for population. And at the bottom, we have a number of data sets relating to population. For this particular example, I'm going to use the bottom link for total population. And it takes me through to a chart that shows me the population growth from 1801 through to 2011. You can also look at the table view to see the numbers and the final tab to see the source information. Of course, the modern local authority has not existed for the entirety of that time. What we've done is reorganise the information from the historical units to realign them for the modern area, so you get a sense of how the place has changed through time. However, you might want to look at the original information. So if you go back to the place page and click on the units and statistics link in the left, it takes you to this page, which is a grid of all the different administrative units that have existed through time for Driffield with the word Driffield in the name. As you can see, there's a list of places on the left, and next to them is a grid indicating all of our themes, and a green tick shows that we have statistics for that theme, for that unit. Clicking on the tick will take you to the statistics you're interested in. So for our administrative units in the past, for the 19th century, that is mostly registration districts, and we have that information at the top. That covers the town and the surrounding rural area. Later on into the 20th century, the area is split into the rural surrounding area, becomes Driffield Rural District, and the town is a separate urban district, which initially was the Great Driffield Urban District, And then in 1935 that was abolished and a new Driffield urban district was created with different boundaries. And this is why we present information in two ways. Here you can see the original data for the original administrative units that existed at the time, and the earlier vision of Driffield through time using the modern districts is a view of how the place has changed. And just briefly, we are, as I mentioned previously, we are intending to publish a new version of the website very soon, which will include 2021 census data, and this is what it will look like. Thank you very much and good afternoon.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you.